Am I the curious? I am the curious. Look, I've always been a guy who enjoy these geeks. And for me, all of that was fine. The only problem is that sometimes when a guy's a pure nerd or a true otaku, when he gets into the subject of dating, he doesn't really always find a girlfriend who shares his same tastes. Well, that was my case, and seriously, I ended up thinking I was crazy about that. Well, time passed out, and I started dating a super nice girl who seemed like she understood me and everything. But I was always embarrassed to tell her what my true romantic fantasies were. One day, she noticed that I was very thoughtful and asked me what was happening, and I told her the truth, is that I had fantasies and I wanted her to make them come true for me. At first, for me, it's something normal, but I don't know if she thought so. She looked at me with a half-curious, half-concerned smile and said, "Fantasy? What kind of costume?" Well, I took a deep breath, trying to find the right words so as not to sound awkward or scare her. It's something I've always liked. I began, trying to measure each word. I've always been a fan of anime, comics and this geek universe. And sometimes I have these fantasies about you dressing up as characters from those worlds. She blinked a few times, processing what I just said. "Do you want me to dress up like anime characters?" "Yes, exactly." Relieved that she seemed to understand so far. "For example, I would love you to dress like a bunny, or as an anime heroine, It would make me feel like we were in a show, like I was a hero too." It's kind of silly, I know. She stopped me, holding my hand, and she said, "No, it's not silly. If it makes you happy, I want to at least try to understand it. Tell me more about it." I smiled, a little more confident now. "I would like if, whenever you were at home, you would dress like this one for me. And before we have any relationship, we could rehearse a script, as if it were an episode of an anime or a scene from a comic." She laughed, but it was not a way that made me feel bad. It was a soft laugh, full of affection. "So, you would want me to do some kind of role play?" Yeah, exactly. I know it sounds a little weird, but it's something I've always wanted to try. I've never had the courage to talk about it to anyone before. "Look, I understand, and I want to do this for you. If this is something that makes you happy, I'm willing to try." Oh, I couldn't stop a huge smile from spreading across my face. "Really? You would do that for me?" "Of course," she said, shaking my hand. "But you're going to have to help me. I don't know much about these characters. We're going to need clothes, and you're going to have to show me how to act, what the scripts are, and everything." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. She was really willing to go on this with me. "You can leave it to me. I'll take care of everything. Let's choose some characters together, and I'll help you with the scripts. How about that?" Over the next few days, we spent hours researching characters and costumes. I showed her some of my favorite animes and comics, explaining what I liked about each character and how I imagined our scenes. She seemed genuinely interested, asking questions and suggesting ideas. When we finally received the clothes we wanted, it was as if a new world was opening up for us. She put her first costume, a bunny outfit, and I felt like my heart sped up. She looked beautiful, and I couldn't believe she was willing to do this for me. She walked around laughing. "So, what do you think?" "You look amazing," I said, barely able to contain my excitement. "You really look like an anime character." She came over and gave me a soft kiss. "Now it's your turn to show me how to act. What's the script for today?" I had prepared a short script, a simple scene where I was a hero who saved the bunny from a villain. We spent the rest of the night rehearsing, laughing, and having more fun than I could ever imagine. Each scene, each costume seemed to bring us even closer. Over time, we became more comfortable with the costumes and scripts. Each new character, each new scene was a new adventure we shared together. She dressed up like various anime heroines, and I felt more and more connected to her, as if we were living our own epic stories. One night, after a particularly intense scene, she cuddled up next to me and said, I never thought something like this could be so much fun. Thank you so much for sharing this with me. I appreciate it, I replied, holding her close to me. You have no idea how much this means to me. She smiled, and I knew we were closer than ever. The costumes, the scripts, all of this had become an important part of our relationship, something that connected us in a unique way. Our love continued to grow, fueled by our imaginary adventures. And I knew that with her by my side, there was no fantasy we couldn't make come true. Over time, our rehearsals and fantasies evolved. More and more, I felt like we were living in a true geek fairy tale. I even suggested some changes to our itineraries, including new elements and challenges to make everything even more exciting. How about today we do a scene where you are an intergalactic warrior, and I am the leader of a resistance that needs your help to defeat an evil empire? She laughed and nodded enthusiastically. I love the idea. Let's do it. We spent the night planning the new scene, discussing details and creating a plot that we both found exciting. When she finally appeared dressed as an intergalactic warrior with a shining armor and a sword of light, my heart sank. So, ready to save the galaxy? She asked with a mischievous smile. I replied, absolutely, pulling out my own resistance leader costume. Our relationship became a true saga where every day was a new adventure. And although our fantasies were elaborate and sometimes even a little over the top, what really mattered was how much fun we had together and how much it strengthened our bond. One night, after a particularly epic scene, she turned to me and said, You know, I never thought I could be so happy doing something like this. You brought a magic to our relationship that I didn't even know existed. I smiled and hugged her so hard. You did the same for me. I couldn't ask for a better partner to share my geeky antics with. Our fantasies continued to evolve, and we became more and more creative. We introduced new characters, new plots, and even began to create our own worlds and stories. It was as if we were living inside an anime, with each new day bringing new surprises and emotions. One day she suggested, how about we do an episode where we're treasure hunters in a magical land? We can create a map and hide some items around the house. I loved the idea, and we spent hours planning and preparing everything. When we finally started the treasure hunt, I felt a rush of excitement and fun that I hadn't experienced since childhood. The house turned into an adventure setting, with hidden clues and challenges to overcome. You really are an adventuring genius, I told her as we found the last item on the map. I just follow your example, she replied, smiling. Our love of fantasies has led us to explore places we never thought possible. And each new adventure has brought us even closer. I knew that with her by my side, there was no limit to what we could imagine and accomplish together. As I reflected on our journey, I realized how lucky I was to have found someone so special. Someone who not only accepted my fantasies, but also embraced them and made them even more incredible. I knew that with her, every day would be a new page in our geek love story, and I couldn't wait to see what the future held for us. Over time, our fantasies and scripts continued to evolve. Each new scene and character brought a different emotion, and our relationship grew stronger every day. I was fascinated by how our adventures unfolded and started thinking of ways to make them even more interesting. Hey, I said one night, as we were resting after another epic adventure. What if we put other characters in our stories? I think it would be more interesting. She raised an eyebrow, curious. Other characters? What do you mean? Well, additional characters could bring new dynamics to our stories. And mainly female characters. We could create scripts with more interaction and challenges. She frowned, thinking, more women in stories. Yeah, I replied nervously. I know it sounds a little strange, but it's something I see in anime and series fics. The stories become richer and more complex, you know? I see. So you want to add more female characters to our fantasies? Yeah, exactly. I know it's kind of crazy, but I thought it might be interesting to try it out. She looked at me, her eyes full of curiosity and maybe a little apprehension. Is this something you really want? Yes, it's something I'd like to try. But I understand if you think it's weird. I just want to be honest about my fantasies. Okay, we can try. But I need to be honest with you too. This could be a turning point in our relationship. We need to be aware of that. I pondered her words, feeling a mixture of relief and concern. Was I crazy for wanting this? Was it fair to put this pressure on our relationship? Over the next few days, we began to explore the new dimensions of our fantasies. We added female characters to our stories, and I was surprised by how much it enriched our scenes. Each new character brought a new layer of complexity and emotion, and we both had a lot of fun creating these interactions. One night, we were rehearsing a scene where my girlfriend played a magical warrior, and I was a powerful wizard who needed her help to defeat the evil sorceress. We had added a new character, an elf archer, to make the story more interesting. No, I really like this dynamic, actually, she said after we finished the scene. The interactions with the elf archer brought a new energy to our story. I'm glad you liked it. I was worried it might be weird for you. It was a little strange at first, but I think I'm starting to understand it. The stories become richer and more exciting with more characters. I sighed in relief, feeling a rush of gratitude that she was willing to try something so different. Thank you for understanding. I know it's not easy, but I'm glad you're willing to try it. She came over and gave me a soft kiss. I want you to be happy too. And if that means exploring new fantasies together, I'm willing to do that. We continued to add new characters and plots to our stories, and each new fantasy brought a new wave of emotion and connection between us. I felt like we were exploring new territory together, something that brought us together in a unique and special way. One night, after a particularly tense scene, she snuggled up next to me and said, "Do you think we're crazy for doing this?" I laughed, hugging her tighter. Maybe a little, but I think everyone has their own fantasies and desires. The important thing is that we're being honest with each other and having fun. True. And I never thought I could have so much fun with something like this. Our relationship continued to grow and evolve, each new fantasy bringing a new level of intimacy and understanding. I knew that with her by my side, there was no limit to what we could explore together, and although there were moments of doubt and apprehension, the love and connection we shared together guided us back to what we really matter. As I reflected on everything we had been through, I realized that it didn't matter how crazy our fantasies might seem. What really mattered was the love and understanding we had for each other, and with that, I knew we could face any challenge and continue to create our own epic stories together. Over the next few weeks, we continued to explore our fantasies in more depth and creativity. Each new character we added brought a new dynamic, and our relationship blossomed in ways I never imagined. One night, as we were planning our next scene, she suggested, "How about we introduce a storyline where we have a joint forces with a team of heroines to defeat a powerful villain? We can have different characters with unique abilities." I smiled, excited by the idea. I love this! We can create a team of superheroes with varying powers, and each of them will play a crucial role in the mission. We spent hours discussing the details, creating characters with rich backstories and unique abilities. When we finally started rehearsing the scene, the house turned into a truly epic battlefield. My girlfriend, dressed as a team leader in impressed armor, looked at me and said, "Are we ready to save the world?" "Ready!" I replied, feeling the adrenaline rush through my body. The scene was intense and action-packed, and each character brought something new and exciting to the story. In the end, we were exhausted but extremely satisfied with what we had created. "That was amazing. I never thought it could be so much fun," she said, breathless and smiling. "You really outdid yourself back there," I replied, holding her hand. "More and more, our stories get more epic." She then smiled, squeezing my hand back. "And I couldn't do it without you." In the days that followed, we continued to expand our stories, introducing new characters and complex plots. Each new adventure brought us even closer, and I felt like we were creating something truly special together. Despite all the fun and excitement, there were times when I reflected on our fantasies and wondered if I was going too far. Were these fantasies affecting our relationship in a negative way? Was I crazy for wanting to include more characters and create increasingly elaborate scenarios? And with that, one night, as we were lying in bed, I decided to share my worries with her. Do you think we're going too far with these fantasies? Sometimes I wonder if I'm crazy for wanting all this. She turned to me, looking into my eyes tenderly. I understand your concerns, but I think the important thing is that we're doing this together with love and respect. Our fantasies have brought us closer in ways I never imagined, and as long as we're having fun and respecting each other, I think we're on the right track. I smiled, feeling a wave of relief. Thank you so much for understanding me. I really appreciate everything you're doing for me. She caressed my face gently. We're doing this for each other. And as long as we're honest and open about our fantasies and limits, we can continue to explore this world together. I hugged her, feeling deep gratitude for having her by my side. You're amazing. I don't know what I would do without you. She smiled back, kissing my forehead. And me without you. As we snuggled together, I knew that regardless of the doubts and uncertainties, the love and connection we shared were strong enough to overcome any challenge. And with that, I felt ready to continue exploring our fantasies and creating our own epic stories, side by side. And this is the part 2 of telling my true fantasies to my crush. Do you like this video? Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and click the like button and hit the bell too so you don't miss the next chapter. I'll see you in the next part. Goodbye.